Well, Taco, we get to talk about it. We get to see it all unfold here, especially as we likely will tune in with more of a contested early game. So last game, early on, Miro and Cooper were highly contested, but they finished the threat quickly. It wasn't the same for game number one. Oyo and Peterbot 2 have a bit of resistance here at their draw spot. So you can tell, although they're having a great tournament run so far, it's not completely free, right?
Not completely free, but nothing ever is. Cooper and Miro, on the other hand, trying to make quick work of Sanito and Veer. We saw just how rapidly Cooper was able to end the run here for Sanito and Veer in match number 2. Now Cooper next to Miro. They're just going to keep breaking on down. They want the immediate challenge up against the likes of Veer and Sanito. But they also want to make sure they're getting proper materials online as well. Sanito and Veer are actually going to recognize the fact that they were just beat to the punch. The drop just not good enough, and rather than find themselves elimed at the hands of Cooper, they're just going to opt to launch pad away instead. One of the benefits here at the Marigold. But as far as that reference towards a pro's adaptability, what I mean by that, MDF, is when you think about how recently these new surge thresholds were actually implemented, and just seeing how quickly these pros are making sure to adapt towards that. It is no easy means, as is playing at a grand set lobby, trying to get your surge damage online. So when the stakes are raised even higher and things are much more aggressive at the start here, it's just impressive stuff to see.
Yeah, and you know, it couldn't be more clear. We've seen so many instances already in game 1 and game 2 that really showcase the difference between your average, you know, casual, even ranked arena game versus FNCS finalists, and the way they maneuver, the way they, you know, play the map and position themselves on the outskirts. That last game, number 2, had so many teams early on what arguably would be a dead side, you know, playerless zone, an area, but not in an FNCS Grand Finals lobby. There's going to be players every single which way you go. There's going to be players that are trying to, you know, play a type of strategy that likely will mirror your own, and we're going to see that time and time again. Right here is a great example of teams that are looking to fight on the outskirts. There are 3 currently battling, and there's 1 looking inwards, deciding of whether or not they want to even push in, and it seems like that team's on the move here. And then to the north, a solo might be looking to engage into this battle here shortly as well. It's not looking good for Maxo as he gets finished off here to Pars and Baka, but there's threats everywhere.
This is big, though, for Pars and Baka. Over here on the far west side of the map, they've been encountering quite a lot of sticky situations, and not every single one of them necessarily going their way. This match, though, Pars and Baka at least off to a pretty hot start there with those 2 eliminations. Veer and Sanita found themselves. They left Cooper and Miro alone just to run into Kanata and Agers instead. Pick your poison sort of ordeal here if you are Sanito and Veer, but they're hoping to turn this one in their favor. Kanata and Agers, though, well aware of the fact that they've got a little bit of competition here at their drop. But for Veer and Sanito, having been forced off of the Marigold, now into an area where, sure, you've got familiarity with the map, but that doesn't necessarily mean you know it as well as Kanata and Agers probably do, since it's where they've been dropping all season long. And things only continue to pick up here as Sigma, no Vorteca at the Classy Courts. He's just trying to escape.
Just trying to survive right now. That's what the name of the game is going to be here for teams that have had a struggle to game 1 and game 2. And like we continue to mention, day 1 is, of course, important to setting up your foundation for becoming the champion of the first FNCS, you know, of the year. However, day 2 is so much more important to perform even better or just as good, because the points are worth 1.5 times as much. It's almost like not necessarily a comeback mechanic, but a true mechanic to solidify the momentum if you can keep it. Looking at the standings here, Peterbot and Boyer are leading here in 6th so far. All in all, one of the first teams to crack that triple-digit point. And Cam and Aminish, another team that we haven't covered too much of or really have spoke about their strategy, have seemingly found themselves in a very consistent flow so far.
Yeah, Cam and Aminish just waiting things out for these Legion Tower grunts to spawn in so they can look to try and secure that forecast key card. But for Peterbot and Pollo, I saw Baka and Pars off in the horizon. Would almost expect that it's because of the fact Baka and Pars very likely going to challenge Peterbot and Pollo for the forecast tower that spawns a little bit east of Reclaim Villa. We'll have to wait and see though whether that hunch holds up, because Ritual and Reet, on the other hand, they've got the forecast tower completely wide open. No one looking to challenge. Ritual and Reet just having a fully established base at this forecast tower. And gotta be excited to see what they're planning on doing. Having the zone knowledge for the duration of match number 3.
You have to think about it. If they have it this easy, right? Like securing this forecast tower day 1, will teams review and come back to that day 2 and try to potentially take their hand at Reet and Ritual, or will they just allow them to quite possibly walk away with a free FNCS Grand Finals? And I say free because they have such an advantage knowing where every single next zone will go. It kind of reminds me back when Byla won his FNCS Grand, his finals championship, essentially. They had center map. They were so positioned. He and Peterbot just ran away with the most advantageous position on the map, and it clearly showed in their playstyle how they were able to take advantage of it. That is how strong having a forecast tower can determine your tournament run. So if teams don't adjust and they allow Reet and Ritual to, patch up the mistakes they made in game 1, they're going to start to take away a pretty monstrous lead. It's going to be hard to close that gap.
I'm right there with you. Everything as far as day 1 is concerned, you can never really get too comfortable with your game plan, with your Storm Surge strategy, because again, like you just touched on, Monster, very strong likelihood that some teams are going to review and again look to adapt towards those day 2 challenges, or at least try and pose more of a challenge to some players that might have had a little bit more of a luxurious stroll here in our first day of competition. But this is the halfway point.
I'm curious right now if Epic Whale and Clicks have an idea if there's a team there. I see Clicks looking outwards to the edge, but there's a lot of movement happening there, not only in the distance, but just in front of them. Oh, once again, this Quanti is in their sights here. They just don't get enough of them. It just seems like their rotates, their pathways just seem to continue to connect. So a little repeat of game 2 happening here in game 3, but a completely different area of the map. Jumping on over to Reet and Ritual, a team that knows that they have to fight here. Have Jiven cornered out right now, and Reet has opponent right above him, which is of course Jiven's teammate.
Yeah, Piggle and Jiven looking to give Ritual and Reet a run for their money, but already highlighted a little bit earlier on today, Piggle definitely the fragger between these two as far as those semi-stats are concerned. But Piggle and Jiven maybe bit off a little bit more than they could chew. It is still Reet and Ritual that are bearing down upon the likes of Jiven and Piggle. Decent shot though, traded out here as Reet down to 62 shield. It's gonna look to get a little bit of height overhead, but oddly enough, Reet Ritual actually gonna opt to fall back momentarily. Probably scouting out the fact that at the bottom of this hill, there's another duo that could potentially be looking to try and pose a threat. Don't want to get caught up in a third-party situation.
Funny enough, I was just talking to Destiny's Jesus about how I continue to butcher my boy Jiven's name, but I've been doing it for years now. So I apologize.
It's tradition.
It's just tradition at this point. Everyone knows the NBF special. But look at this cluster of Paper and Muzz here. They're next to all the other top 10s, and then Clicks and Epic Whale right now are finding themselves in what will be the most, you know, critical battle for them to finish up, and they do get X-Pawn. I was just gonna say, this is for Surge, this is for positioning, this is for getting themselves comfortable in the game, and you can tell that they really chose this battle wisely. Another time where they single out an individual and just full send on the singular player. They could have jumped on Quanti just a little bit ago. We just hinted at that. However, they decided not to fight Quanti and his duo and instead go for a more advantageous fight, and they find exactly just that. Epic Whale and Clix are honestly playing like an extremely top tier duo. This is very exciting to watch them continue to develop and catch their moments like this.
What's even more impressive, though, about what Clix and Epic are accomplishing here today is you have to factor in this was a duo that didn't even get to practice the new Surge thresholds, because you have to remember when it was first optioned for a method of practice, it was in the duo cash cup, right? Clix and Epic, they didn't qual for that. And yet, still here today, they are showcasing that they were still able to develop a strategy aside from that being a problem, because so many players would love to get a little bit of set lobby practice. Even if it's not the grand set lobby, it's still set lobby practice, especially for such a massive change like the Surge thresholds having been impacted. So Clix and Epic, they've clearly got something figured out here, and it's working for them. We're just gonna have to hope that this isn't a caster's curse building in the process.
Well, so do Cooper and Miro here. They've jumped up roughly 45 spots from game 1 to game 2, putting themselves right up at the top of the totem pole here. They're in 8th here on the tournament standing so far as we start leaning into game 3, and it's exciting to see them actually catch their footing. And same thing for Day and Redux, who were some of the first teams eliminated game 1 and game 2, and now they're actually starting to make their way into a mid-game. You can never really count Day out. Can't forget he's had so many extreme moments of greatness. Redux is a competitor who's been around for a very long time. Slowly he's been working his way up into the top tier echelon of teammates and playing with better and better duos season after season. This is his time to prove something big. They can't allow themselves to get pushed over the way they did in the, you know, upper and lower brackets. They have to continue to truly, truly turn up.
Day and Redux. A little bit of problem here posed by Higher and Raze. The longer this engagement takes, the easier it's going to be for another team to potentially place spoiler alert to both of these duos. Day and Redux likely well aware of the fact that they're probably drawing in more company. They want to see if they can acquire just a little bit more damage, just a knock or an elimination. Get some material refresh. They came here, were able to secure a cache, but now they're going to be one of the first teams to disengage as Day, Redux, even if they weren't able to find the damage that they'd necessarily been after, at the same time, they don't want to risk finding themselves eliminated or getting caught up, pincered between several of those teams.
Yeah, you can't just keep throwing away games like that when you have a pretty bad game 1, game 2. You're game 3, you're alive this long. You just got to do what you got to do to stay alive a little bit longer, see if something better comes your way. And for them, I mean, 2 a.m. Golden was there. Tahi just showed up. It was all types of bad. I don't blame them for rotating out. I think it's the wisest decision they could have made. Now on over to Rise and the Amzo, though, who have continued to trend in the right direction here. Still continuing to find themselves here at the top of the standings. Something went terribly wrong in game number 2 as the Amzo was taken out very early, but Rise, man, talk about an incredible play even as a solo when we watched him dive into those boxes for refreshers on his own. I'm thinking that's a team that is going to be a serious contender for the top of the standings here if they continue to stay alive as a duo. Now on over to Duke and Threats, though. We're just looking for Surge here, fishing for something big.
I mean, you're talking about teams that had issues in the last match. Duke, certainly familiar with that sensation. Unfortunately enough, looking to try and 180 things here in the halfway point of today's matches. But Duke and Threats, they've got... It's decent elevation, sure, But at the same time, there doesn't really seem like anybody's actually coming near them. They're likely going to have to leave that position sometime soon, because if they're under as far as their surge threshold is concerned, if you can't find anybody, if you can't see anybody, chances are even the people that are near you, they're probably not peeking. So Duke of Threats likely going to have to just be forcibly aggressive soon enough here. Peterbot pokes his head out for 1 second. Have to assume that it was just a sniper shot that he ate, given the damage applied. That 110 does not feel good.
I just saw a huge elimination too happen in the feed where Ritual seemingly took on Cam. Don't forget, Cam and Aminish sleeper duo was sitting at the pretty highly, pretty respectably on the standing after those first 2 games. So to get a little update there shortly, but Cold and Acorn right now have Edgy and Tavern here just next door. So much history between Acorn, Edgy, and all the other teams that have accolades on the West, but nothing's gonna turn out from this here. Hold up, little engagement here.
Nada and Agers though. It's gonna be Veer coming out on top for that one. But again, as things start to pick up, some of these teams rotating north, Reckless Railways can recognize the fact there's going to be a little bit of congestion one more time, building up towards that south side. All these teams looking to escape Reckless Railways, potentially getting held up even by some of these players here on top of the Rift Island. Could be looking to take some shots downwards. Peterbot Pollo, they're actually below as far as their damage threshold is concerned. Probably won't be long here. That's why we see it's not desperation necessarily when it's Peterbot. He's always this aggressive, but he will get punished for it. When you go for those super direct challenges, it's not always a guarantee that you're going to come out on top here.
We just love to see, you know, the history clash head-to-head here. Pollo, Peterbot, and then on the other side, Baila is the team that's contesting in here alongside Quanti. All of these teams, not only once in previous, of course, ex-teammates, but now on the other side of the fence going head-to-head, toe-to-toe. And just on the other side, you have Cooper and Miro listening to everything that's going down right now. What a dangerous Rift Island if we've ever seen one. And Peterbot and Pollo, little do they know, have their work cut out for them if they stick around here a little too long. And it's Miro and Cooper end up getting a fair share of the defense here from Pollo so far. But the zone's revealed itself. They're definitely going to have to roll out of here shortly. It just seems like they don't want to be the first to go.
The other problem, though, for Peterbot and Pollo looking kind of scarce there as far as his materials were concerned. Cold, getting pieced up, just using that grapple blade. Didn't get a chance to actually check the bush. And unfortunately, Cold inside of the box. Edgy Tavern from the bush to the box. It's kind of insane when you think of how fast they were able to break into Cold's box there.
And it just doesn't stop. It's like they just had a small exchange against Edgy just moments ago, and they grapple bladed away. They just went off into the distance. Acorn and Cold had no idea they'd be lurking this far away in a completely different bush. It could have been any team that decided to rotate this way. And it's just unlucky now for Acorn, who's also below the surge, by the way. So this is going to be one of his only moments right here. One of the most critical times here to find some tags, while you have teams like Piggle here, like Jive-In, who have wooden structures in front of them. Yeah, you just have to take these fights. It's just not going to get any easier than this. Not that this is an easy fight by any means for a solo to take on a set of professional players, but he does have something to look forward to, a slight advantage nonetheless there. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. The tags creep through the builds.
The only thing Acorn's really got going for him is the fact that Jagveer definitely sandwiched next to his teammate LeBron between a solo in Acorn and a duo in Piggle and Jive-In. But at least for right now, LeBron and Jagveer, they don't want to look to immediately challenge, and it's honestly kind of odd that a duo is this unwilling, this hesitant to try and engage with a solo. Hard pressed to believe that Acorn wasn't identified as a solo at least, but still, the damage that he applied was intimidating enough.
Yeah, and you have to think about it. You have to think about, they were in wood builds too, right? And in a very vulnerable position. So it's just showing you the lack of experience sometimes in these big lobbies. But look at this, fully experienced Epic. Whale jumps in and finds himself 2 for his troubles. 1 onto Boyo there, and another in the low ground. Boyo and Peter Bot cleaned up, wrapped up, and talking about experienced professional players. Acorn with the turn and burn here, with all the pressure of the lobby on his back, continuing to press on to the neck here of Golden here. The pressure too hard to overcome right now. And just like that, he's still in the game here, earning points.
That was Booga. That Acorn is just 180 pumping to the face, by the way.
My
Booga
God.
sees Acorn distracted, tries to prey upon him, instead gets his face ripped off for it. That is an absurdly insane shot there from Acorn. The fact that he came out on top and is able to extend the placement possibilities for Cold and himself. Absolutely insane stuff there.
Let's take a look at Epic Whale. We turn away, and he gets taken down there on the outskirts, but not before, of course, taking a bunch of players with him. At least it allows him to mitigate the blow to the standings that those implications are going to have for him falling a little too early here in this end game. However, Acorn is positioned on a pretty high spot here of this mountain, and it's going up and over. This is a great overall spot to be in right now, as he's going to have free opportunities to make the rotates, and also who is now likely his arch nemesis of the lobby. Edgy and Tavern are sitting up top. And look at this, Bold in the open, Paper and Muzz just walking around in the snow here, fearlessly trying to conserve material. Big moves are gonna come out though. That's right.
It's crazy how quickly they're able to get up and over this mountain face. And will claim themselves a mid-ground position. But checking back in with Acorn, he does have a couple of small shield potions. Unfortunately, his position also being known there, just gets immediately ran down by Yuumi. A decently sized refresh there too, with that elimination onto Acorn. Sitting here now though with Iamzo and Rise, kind of just waiting to see if anybody's gonna actually potentially look to just like tarp over their current layer, that if they're able to pick somebody off from above, could give them grounds to keep moving forward. Paper and Muzz, we talked about how out in the open they were, but maybe a little bit too exposed here as Paper loses practically all of his HP for it.
And off the side of the mountain he goes. And I was just going to say, the team we need to be looking out for is Reet and Ritual, as they know where the zone is going every single game. And I'm curious to see how well positioned they are. Take a look at it. They are extremely positioned with material. They just need more damage. And this is what I'm talking about. Reet and Ritual can run away with the entire FNCS Grand Finals just off the knowledge alone. When a difficult terrain like this presents itself, what better thing than to understand other than where the zone is going next? And you can see how it's playing its way out in spades here, because not only that, they have practiced so very well. For Muzz, the difficult battle continues now as he loses Paper, but he's at the front side of zone here. He actually finds elimination as he looks back there, and he is cooking right now here, getting very comfortable. And actually, someone might have taken the credit for that one, but still, nonetheless, placement points are really starting to rack up here. Top 15 presents itself. On the other side, Iamzo all the way down to the low ground, switches to the hard material, loses his teammate on the landing, and now he's gonna have to fight for it.
The problem that Iamzo and Rise just encountered is the fact that when you're using that grapple blade to try and tackle that front side low, especially in a zone that's moving towards that downside of the elevation, it is just so difficult not to draw the whole attention of the lobby. We've got Byla sitting up way up above everybody else here, but Byla gotta have some Flowberry Fizz or a grapple blade, because it's only a matter of time before he gets chopped there. Have to expect at least from the veteran experience inside of this lobby. Muzz just trying to sneak his way through these low ground builds. Reet Ritual now gonna spot out. There is, in fact, a solo way up above everybody else, but
they know. I think he knows. Yes, he does. He recognizes Quanti was up there. You are not safe. And they end up popping a couple of shots here. But again, they have the knowledge of where the zone's going to go. Look at how they get to the next security position here, right up above. And it's cost them a lot of material, but it is worth it as they turn and just destroy players round after round here. And Iamzo takes advantage of all the chaos. He's scaling up the side of these builds. He doesn't have any mats to work with. He doesn't care, though. He's just trying to get up and over, and he's just going to have to fight his way through. He finds Noxie, but there's not enough time for him to pick up the med kit. Meanwhile, Threat's playing for the heal off. And one thing to note, Taco, all of these games have truly gone the distance. There have been just battle after battle. It really hasn't even looked like heal offs were a potential by any means, but this game right here, I think the story's the same. I think it's going to go all the way to the end, and it's going to come down to who can hit their shots.
Everybody down to their last build. Batman Booga doesn't even have any left. The elimination, siphon materials out of Threats, though. Will buy a little bit of time, and Baka, no chance. Batman Booga finding the elimination there at the end.
And that's what happened. We just talked about if a heal off was even possible. It does not look like it. Even Batman Booga in that moment was like, dude, I need shields. Like, we have to fight for this. And he had 2 medkits. He could have possibly even won the game just with those heals, but it is not going to be enough. This time, everything turns upside his head, but information is king. Take a look at Reet and Ritual. The dominant positioning from the high ground. They turn this entire spot around here, and they, again, not only have the information, but they execute so well in finding the eliminations too.
And look, for Reet and Ritual, you know that they've got full control of that forecast tower. At least we know that much. But the fact that they were able to just overtake the high ground and just watch as the ants underneath them essentially destroy themselves. It was a good attempt, though. Out of you have to respect it from Batman Booga as well, but Reet and Ritual just fully benefiting off of letting the lobby wipe itself out.
Well, with the way they came back in game number 2 and the way now they really break away with a crazy lead here in game 3, who can stop them, Zeke? We're just going to have to find out.